Welcome to Business Q&A. Today we talk about how customer and consumer trends are changing in the world of commercial payments. Joining me for this discussion is Vish Chetty, Executive for Payments Acceptance at Absa Relationship Banking. We're talking about the trends and Absa's insights into this in the commercial payments space. Vish, thank you very much for joining us. From Absa's perspective, perhaps give us the broad picture. How are things changing as far as consumer trends in commercial payments are concerned?
Yeah, thanks for having us here today. So the hyperinflation in cost and the consumer is constrained, but we've seen consumer spend moving more towards essential goods as opposed to luxury goods. And what's quite comforting to see is how the consumer's behavior is changing from being physically present to shopping more online. We've seen a 25% increase year on year for online spend, which shows that people are getting more comfortable with card not present transactions or virtual purchases. We've also seen basket of goods shrink, but more transactions happening in the physical space. But in the virtual environment, we're seeing the actual transactional value or ticket size increasing, which is also testament to show that digital acceptance is becoming more and more popular. And yeah, we're happy with having good systems and controls in place that gives that customer the security and safety to transact.
Absa is by far the largest merchant acquirer in Africa. How has technology, in this regard, changed the way, or what do you perhaps see as the most important technological advances or changes that helps to make this happen?
Yeah, so I think it's twofold. One is it's becoming more and more present. You've got more payment operators, education is growing. And the second one is the consumer is getting more comfortable using different form factors of payments. I think with Absa's presence, it's quite humbling to see that we're a massive contributor in terms of helping the country with inclusion and creating frameworks to allow and accept these payments. But also Absa has created a framework that allows payment facilitators to help us grow that agenda for our country. So we're very excited about it, how technology has improved. Now the introduction of payment facilitators and other partners, where financial products and services were before only operated or provided by banks, is now provided by what we call non-financial banking institutes, and it's giving customers choice. And with that, there's more opportunities and removing the friction from doing payment. Different form factors. Before it was only used by card. Today it's with wearables. You see rings being tapped for exchange of goods and services. So I think technology is moving, and with our Black Swan event, it accelerated the digital acceptance in the payments landscape.
There's even some trends or reports suggesting that some businesses are saying they're no longer accepting cash as a form of transaction. Is this sustainable, or is it inevitable as far as the future is concerned?
Yeah, so it's a conundrum that I often try and figure out. Whilst we're seeing a massive cash to card migration, it's more in the middle and affluent space. In the lower LSM, there's still predominantly cash. And it's how do we start providing solutions and further entrenching infrastructure into those environments. If you look at developed countries like the United States, cash is still one of the primary form factors. I don't generally believe that it'll go away. It's just how do you see a shift moving from physical to digital. We've seen card transactions or volume value increasing about 60%. But in volume, it's still a very cash-heavy society.
Now, recently, you, along with Visa, hosted, what was called the Commercial Payment Summit. What was the rationale behind that?
So I think when our team sat together to say, how do we position this? And as thought leaders in payments and the evolution, how do we support this growth opportunity? And the growth opportunity is quite mind-blowing. And then we thought, who better than Absa and Visa to bring this together and bring not just merchants or payment facilitators, but invite the public, invite clients, invite everyone across the value chain to come together in solving the inclusivity. We feel that it's our responsibility to create the platform and be really inclusive. We've supported over 60 payment facilitators. It's a view that's not commonly accepted by maybe our peers, but in the competition is good. It's about getting more payment facilitators in heightened competition and then solve for the customer. So initially there was a controlling factor, and it's how do you relinquish that control? Because we've seen along the product continuum, you move from product to customer centricity, and now the customer is in the epicenter. So what that means is customer today has lots of choice, and with lots of choice brings in competition and new ideas and new experiences. And the rationale was get the common payment players across the value chain together that will promote inclusivity. And it was a great turnout, Gary. We didn't realize it would be this successful, and at some point we oversubscribed. And having a partner like Visa allowed us to understand what global trends are and how to make it more secure and reliable. So it was a really fun, energized function as well.
You spoke about inclusivity, and one of the areas that's often neglected is the youth. And now at this event, you also had some tertiary students, come up with suggestions. Tell us about that.
Yeah, so in terms of inclusivity, when we put the program together, it's how do we action our words? And what are those things that we can do that helps and support? So the money we raised, from the exhibitors, we created a program for kids from universities and those who got government grant, and we gave them a case study. Based on the case study, they then answered, we then adjudicated, and we had 4 winners. And we thought, how about giving back? And those kids got lots of airtime. They had exposure to the payment facilitators, which allowed them to move the academia into practice. And it was a really good news story that we are very privileged to give these kids an opportunity, and we want to watch their careers. The one student, I addressed him as my senior and my boss, and he was why? And I said, because I think you're going to be brilliant and run one of the largest payment acceptance one day. So we're very humbled and privileged to provide this platform for the kids, and it's just but one example to show how we want to actually give back.
Now, in the hosting of an event like this, inevitably it seems like competitors were coming together and saying, we have to work together. So this creates a collaborative model, isn't it?
Yes. So ownership is something that people thought we needed to hold on to. And if you look at organizations in the past, they wanted to control the customer journey. But now that we've seen a shift and evolution in the landscape where customer has the choice, as I spoke about earlier, it's about relinquishing some of that ownership and that control. And how do we then start sharing into the spoils as opposed to just trying to control it? And then it's making individuals and companies more relevant ever than before. And how do we support that? So yes, it could be competitive, but it creates the right growth for the organization. It creates the right tension, and it allows the ecosystem to start evolving, and then we can be more deliberate around inclusivity.
And perhaps, finally, Vish, what is the most important thing that both customers and clients and also people playing in this commercial payment space can do strategically over the next year or two to navigate this landscape?
So I think education, it's how do we start creating the notion of don't withdraw all of your salary and keep it where you can earn interest and let the money work for yourself, and how do we bring about financial literacy? And then coming together, we often think that two parties are solving the same exam question, but how do we jointly link together adjacent and complementary products so that we can enhance the customer experience and then solve challenges for our customer's customer? Being highly constrained with the macro and microeconomics, our country, went through a bit of turmoil. And how do we come together and share in the spoils, build a better ecosystem that's more inclusive? South Africa has been through a lot, and I think we are a highly resilient nation. And if we can bring some of the commercialization together, we can solve, South Africa's agenda for creating a playing field that allows for growth and openness.
Vish, thank you very much for joining us.
Thank you, Gary. Thanks for having us.
That's where we leave it. That was Vish Chetty, Executive Payments Acceptance at Absa Relationship Banking.